Well, evening. It's definitely nice to see you again. Since last time I saw you, you've definitely changed a lot. But you're still the same old engine that I was able to find when I you were up at Swindon all those years ago. That's so nice you actually got a chance to actually know someone from your days on the railway, Bear. But she does look very glamorous and polite to come along.
Yes, indeed. But I want to know one thing. What's her history like? And how come she's actually here as an express engine to cover Gordon?
I'm just as curious as you are. I would like to know more about your history, Evening Star, mainly about your career on the Express and on the other railway before you were preserved by Tisley.
Well, my history is basically a typical Max Richter story with some twists. You guys would be more than happy to hear it if you want to.
Of course we wouldn't mind hearing about your story. We always heard stories from Edward. Even the little engines on the Scarmary Railway have told us a lot of stories. I'm sure we wouldn't mind hearing your story.
Actually, I have to agree with Thomas. It would be nice to actually know a bit more about Evening's story, because not all of us know about it, apart from Duck and Oliver.
Yes, she is quite a storyteller. Her stories are very action-packed and memorable, but not to mention, she's very detailed when she comes to her own history. It would be better if we had better education on her character, and her entire career.
Because after all her story, well, I guess she would actually be more than willing to tell us her story because of her own history on the GWR. Please tell us, Evening. We'd like to hear all about your story.
Fair enough. I was built in 1907. I was the pinnacle of what steam locomotive technology was. In fact, I was actually one of the most powerful engines. And I took expresses to all parts of the system from London Paddington.
What was it like working as an express engine? Surely you must have hated pulling trucks at one time.
Yes, it was. And not to mention, I got to travel to many different places around the system, as well as also meet new people, new engines, and I even got to experience the changing world around me. I was such a great engine that I even actually got to see it at a more faster pace. But it felt like time stood still for everyone, but for me, it just went by in a blur. But I was actually known for being a Royal Engine. I mean, I wasn't proud of my title as a Royal Engine, but I was willing to help out any engine that was in trouble, because I wanted to get the passengers and goods to their final destinations without complaint or fuss. But over the years, I began to see changes in motor power. I ended up actually getting sidelined for secondary passenger trains and locals, but I ended up enjoying other jobs like taking postal trains, parcels, goods, shunting in the yards. I actually consider it to be a bit more relaxed for me. The Express, I always still loved, but I'd like to take a break and just slow down. I worked hard through 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and was still beating the odds, despite age almost killing me in my time. I would still take the Express and do other jobs around the railway, and I would keep that up until I was withdrawn in 1957.
After my final run, I ended up being placed in the siding at Swindon, where I saw the world go by me for the next 7 years, and I began to think maybe this was the end for me. The moment was prepared for me to accept my fate and join my other siblings on the scrap heap.
But, you know the saying, faith has other ways? I was rescued and preserved by the Locomotive Society at Tisley. And I actually am one of the most operable yet low-profile celebrities on the main line on the other railway. Rail trains, rail tours. I actually got to tour everywhere around the railway systems, and no one would even know I still existed. But they would actually get to know me more in time. I would eventually actually be respectable. But I wouldn't actually, give out the spotlight to anyone else. Well, I may be actually proud to be an express engine on the old railway again, what the job that was actually built to do. I still hold my titles as a Royal Engine a bit seriously, though I'm not afraid to flaunt it. I just want to keep a low profile to stay out of the spotlight of other mainline engines. If you get what I'm trying to say to all of you.
Boy, you are a celebrity, but not the one we actually know about. You're actually very friendly and polite. And you actually prefer to be a low-profile celebrity compared to being a hotshot like some agents we actually know or have seen working on our railway.
She does have quite an interesting story. She's pretty well respected as a high-powered celebrity, but I would say she works very well if she wasn't a celebrity, Duck. I have to say, she has quite the vibrant history she's been known for on her railway.
An amazing story, Ori to any engine. She definitely reminds us of some engines who got here not only because of resource, but sagacity. She is definitely a really useful engine, like we all are.
Hey, she definitely has a good story, but she definitely doesn't have, an exuberant amount of a career, unlike some of the other engines that we know that have worked on this railway.
Says the engine who couldn't get up the hill in stormy weather.
It was because of those leaves on Golden Hill. How'd you even heard about that incident?
My driver department read me your railway series books a lot, you know. Plus, I can't climb hills.
Enough! I'm gonna prove to our evening star over here that I'm more perfect for the express than she will actually be if Sir Topham Hatt gave her a chance to pull a train as heavy and important as that train.
You don't have to be sure about that, James, but you seem to be jealous. Evening may be old, but she could be capable of doing just about anything. She's sort of like Edward.
My brothers and sisters have actually written a lot. They've always kept mentioning you around. Surprisingly, they also keep mentioning that you never actually gave up. They kept on writing even when I actually came here. I am actually glad that some of them are actually preserved. But how did you actually know? Some of them have actually said they've actually seen you multiple times over the years. But it really feels like I've actually gone back to time when I actually used to work on the Great Western Railway before coming here. I'm just surprised to see you here again after all these years. I always would see you leaving the station when you always would take the express, like the Bristolian or the Torpid Express. You definitely had more places to go to on the entire railway system. You definitely got to see more of the world than what I would in a lifetime. I ended up here, serving a branch line on the coast, and not to mention, still be really useful. Like you would actually want me to be. You and Evening have quite an interesting history from your days on the Great Western Railway, Duck, and I humbly have my pay. I knew her from her days on the Great Western Railway, and she knew me from my time at London Paddington before I came to Sulgore.
That is mostly true. I was actually based in Paddington for a while, mostly in Old Common, but I do actually have to admit, it is quite nice to see an engine that I actually used to see at Paddington Station in Old Sodo once again.
Well, You should definitely tell Doc more about your life on the Great Western Railway soon. Doing well and settling in so far, Grizzly. I have to apologize that not all the officers are actually up to the standards that you've actually been used to with the other railway during your time, especially with the one that you had in St. Pancras Station, which was across the street from King's Cross. Definitely don't mind it at all, sir. It's definitely a nice change of pace with the big office I'm used to in London. Not to mention, I can still see the trains coming out of my office. It's going to take a lot of work to renovate it and get it to the top standards that I might need it for, but I am willing to make an exception for it. You definitely have everything you need on a shoestring budget. Well, I do imagine that the other engines will be hearing the news of it, but the reactions could actually be different. I just want your, personal opinion of it. That is actually one thing, sir. I have worked with many other engines during my over 70 years experience with the other railway, both as director and as a board member. But it all comes down to one thing. They either have to respect you, or they don't have to. And I'm willing to be open to any sort of bias they have against me, because you have to be impartial to what they are. Since I'm mostly impartial all the time. I see where you're actually going at. Some of the other engines may not actually be willing to accept you as a part of the railway, since, well, you've had a checkered history on the other railway, especially during the modernization that my great-grandfather and my grandfather have actually been known to hear stories about you, as well as also during privatization in the 90s. However, I am willing to have them accept you. Just let them give you a chance when it comes to being a part of this railway. Very well, sir. I shall actually be meeting with them at the engine sheds this evening with you, just to reassure them that I am not intending to replace you or modernize the railway for Network Rail's purposes. I shall agree with you on that one. At least they'll probably get a better chance getting to know you. Yes, sir. This is definitely going to be nice. Change from being involved with protests, punchline on late night talk shows, being in the media with headlines for all the wrong reasons, having multiple controversies that might destroy or damage your personal career. And besides, me reading up along the railway's history that may or may not be glamorous or colorful could be a perfect and reasonable understanding if you're actually running a railway and we're going back to the traditions that they were actually known for, such as British Railways back in the day that I was in charge of, and even some of the privatization companies. Yes, indeed. But that is a sign of more things to come for us, Mr. Gresley.